tonight.
It definitely can, but to me as a fighter and a fan, Chandler is at a crossroads here. He's taking on a young guy who has a lot of hype, but his track record's been kind of rocky in the UFC. You know, he came over right out the gate, big win, then up and down, up and down. This is a big test for Chandler to show he deserves to be at the top of the division.
It's honestly been more down than up, Dustin.
Hey, you said it.
Dustin, can I ask you a straight-up question? Is Michael Chandler a cheater?
Bro.
Dog, seriously.
Alright, so I'm finally back from traveling, so expect regular uploads again. Thanks for being so patient. Anyways, Michael Chandler just got dominated by Paddy Pimblett at UFC 314, and I feel like now is the perfect time to finally say what's been obvious for a long time. This guy is probably the most overrated fighter in the history of the UFC lightweight division. This guy is painfully overrated, like on paper perception and in practice. Chandler is a guy who has been handed opportunity after opportunity, and yet has done absolutely nothing to justify it. We're talking about a guy with a 2-5 UFC record who somehow manages to keep getting big name fights, major pay-per-view slots, and endless praise from Dana White like he's some sort of top contender, when in reality he's been coasting off of Bellator hype, his phony corporate-friendly persona, and he cheats more than Bill Clinton. And yeah, we're gonna be talking about all this and more throughout this video because the Michael Chandler science experiment has officially crashed and burned. As always, let's talk about the fight from last night first. Mike got dominated, plain and simple, and if you remember a video that I uploaded a couple of weeks ago, you might recall that I actually predicted Paddy to get the win in this fight, but I definitely didn't think it would be as one-sided as it ended up being. Besides one singular takedown in the first round, it never felt like Chandler was in the fight. And to be fair to Paddy, the guy put on a really good performance and steamrolled Chandler in a way that we haven't really seen in the UFC yet. Because even in Mike's 4 other UFC losses, he at least had moments where he was able to put his opponents in trouble, but that was not the case last night because Paddy completely shut him out. I scored the first 2 rounds pretty clearly for Pimblett, and then obviously in the 3rd round he was able to hurt Chandler with the knee, take him down, and butchered him on the ground to score the TKO win. And as much as Chandler was talking about his power was going to be too much for Paddy and how he was going to knock him out early, he didn't land any bombs like he said that he would, and frankly, it was kind of an easy fight for Pimblett. And with that, Chandler is now 2-5 in the UFC, and I'm really hoping that the UFC stops treating him like he's some sort of superstar. This guy has fewer wins than he has post-fight monologues, and yet somehow he's talked about like he's some sort of perennial title contender. It's genuinely baffling. Since debuting in the UFC in 2021, Chandler has beaten exactly 2 people, Dan Hooker and Tony Ferguson. That's it. That's the whole resume. And even though I will give Mike some credit with the Hooker win because I do think that performance has aged pretty well over the years, I also think it's worth mentioning that Dan had just been mauled by Dustin Poirier the fight before and really should have taken more time off before fighting Mike. Regardless, it's still a solid win for Chandler, and honestly, it's the only solid win that he has in the UFC in my book, seeing as his only other win is against Tony Ferguson. Chandler knocking out Tony in 2022 is the combat sports equivalent of dunking on an 8-year-old at the YMCA. By that point, Tony had already lost 3 in a row, was clearly deteriorating, and Chandler still almost got finished in the first round before landing that front kick in the second. This guy's entire UFC career is built around smoke and lies. Every time he's fought a legitimate contender, he's gotten exposed, yet somehow he's held a constant spot as at least a co-main event for pay-per-view cards. And it's not because of merit, that is for sure. It's because he plays the game, he does his corny little WWE speeches that only stupid people buy into, and most importantly, he kisses Dana's ass more than anybody else on the roster. And before I go any further, I hate when people glaze Chandler by saying that he's such an exciting fighter. I mean, yes, his fights are always fun, but at the same time, all of his opponents are also known for being entertaining fighters as well. When you're fighting guys like Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, and Justin Gaethje, you're probably going to be forced into an exciting fight whether you like it or not. Now let's go ahead and throw this one in the garbage as well, the idea that Chandler was some elite lightweight based on what he did in Bellator. Look, I'm not trying to downplay Bellator like it's some sort of amateur backyard promotion, but let's be real here. Chandler built his legacy by beating the same 3 guys over and over again. His biggest wins were over Eddie Alvarez, Patricky Pitbull, who I've always thought was kind of mid, and Benson Henderson, who was well past his prime when they fought. Meanwhile, he got TKO'd by Will Brooks, who ended up being a massive disappointment when he joined the UFC, and then he got TKO'd by Patricio Pitbull, who's a featherweight. The resume just does not hold up, and yet when he made his UFC debut, Dana made it seem like he was bringing in a mix of Khabib and Muhammad Ali based on the promotion. There was this bizarre insistence that Chandler was going to shake up the division and that he was a legit title threat. However, what we've seen instead is a guy with good power, a fun style, and absolutely zero ability to adapt to elite level competition. Every high-level UFC lightweight that he's faced has figured him out and has usually finished him. Alright, now let's talk about how Chandler has built up this fake nice guy persona. He's always saying the right things, delivering motivational speeches, and acting like he's the second coming of Captain America. But when you actually watch his fights, he's one of the dirtiest fighters in the division. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's committed an entire highlight reel of fouls with zero accountability.
Yeah, he's the nicest man in the world outside the cage, and when he gets in it, he's a dirty bastard, isn't he? I don't want to have a ref that's just going to let me get rabbit punched in the back of the head consistently. In there, he's a very, very dirty man.
In his fight with Justin Gaethje, Chandler poked Gaethje in the eye, then kept swinging as the ref tried to stop the action.
You know, I think it's blatant fouls. You know, like hitting people, a lot of the Michael Chandler shit, pretty much everything he does, immediate point taken away. You know, smoking people in the back of the head.
Then there's the Poirier fight. Chandler hits him in the back of the head repeatedly, literally sticks his fingers in Poirier's mouth to lift his chin up for a choke, and somehow never gets a point taken away.
Nelson, can I ask you a straight-up question? Is Michael Chandler a cheater?
Bro,
Dog, seriously.
he's a competitor. I think.
Does he break the rules? In the octagon, does he cheat?
Yes. Yes.
Dustin, you're not the only.
I don't know if it's premeditated, but he's out there to win, and I think he's, you know.
What's something nasty he would do? Would he do eye stuff? Would he do groin stuff?
Dustin tried to say
How
he
far will
fish
he
hooked
go?
him.
Oh, not I'm trying to. He did.
Charles Oliveira had to fight through constant fouls during their rematch between the cage grabs, eye pokes, glove manipulation, and a ton of shots to the back of the head.
You know, I'm not here to criticize, but I'm gonna tell you something. There were a lot of blows to the back of the head, a lot of fence grabbing. There was also some eye pokes.
For a guy who wants to be seen as a noble warrior and a role model, Chandler fights like a guy who knows he will never be penalized, which is true, he never will. He's not just dirty, he's entitled and dirty. And when you put that alongside his overly rehearsed interviews and forced inspirational speeches, the whole song and dance that he puts on just comes off as a bit pathetic to me. The biggest problem with Chandler, aside from the cheating, the losses, and the undeserved opportunities, is that he's trying way too hard to be something that he's not. He's just corny. Everything that he does and says sounds overly polished and formulaic that I honestly can't even take him seriously anymore. The guy talks like a youth pastor with CTE and fights like a frat bro trying to win a bar fight. You gotta pick a lane here. His constant need to craft a brand instead of just focusing on being a good fighter is why a lot of people, including myself, have turned on him. He is not real, he is a product, and worse, he's a product that doesn't deliver. You can't talk about being the most exciting lightweight in the world when you're getting finished every other fight and only beating guys who are coming off of losses. And then of course, there's the biggest crime of all, wasting 2 full years of his career waiting for Conor McGregor. Chandler hit the pause on his entire fighting career and turned down actual contenders just to sit around and wait for a payday that never came. This guy let himself age out of his athletic prime chasing down a fantasy booking, and you know who does that? Fighters who have given up on chasing gold and are just looking to cash out. And honestly, that's not inherently a bad thing, but don't turn around and tell us that you're doing it all for legacy when every move you make contradicts that. Guys like Arman Sarukian, Grant Dawson, and Islam Makhachev have all called him out for this exact same thing.
Guys that is very smart.
Very smart there. He lost last 3 fights. Very smart. Took the fight McGregor. No, he's so smart. They have same streak. Last 4 fights, they lose 3 times.
All of them have basically asked some form of why is this guy waiting on the sidelines for a fight that he hasn't even earned, and I think it's a valid question to ask. He could have fought Fiziev, he could have fought Mateusz Gamrot, he could have fought Max Holloway for the BMF title. He could have done anything, but instead Chandler chose to become an Instagram motivational speaker waiting for Conor to change his boom life. And look, I'm not the only guy who's saying this. Chandler has become a figurative punching bag amongst other fighters because of all of his antics as well. You've got Dustin Poirier constantly roasting him in interviews, RDA making fun of his slogans, and Grant Dawson calling him a coward.
I think that Michael Chandler is a coward wearing the facade of an entertainer. I think that he doesn't actually mean the things that he says. I think that he is, I want the greatness and I want the... No, you don't, dude. No, you don't. You want to pretend like you're this big entertainer. Go fight Paddy. I don't even like Paddy. Go fight Paddy.
You know, it's one thing when fans and YouTuber nerds like me make fun of a fighter, but when a guy has lost all respect from his peers, it really does speak to how fake and disingenuous Mike really is. And now, with a dismal 2-5 UFC record, the curtain's been pulled back for good. The myth of Chandler as a top lightweight is dead. He is not a contender. He is not a champion. He's not even a gatekeeper at this point. He's a 38-year-old action fighter whose one-trick pony approach to fighting has been exposed. Michael Chandler is the living embodiment of UFC hype inflation. He was brought in with fanfare, given every opportunity imaginable, and told the world he was going to be the next big thing. And what did he deliver? 2 wins against declining fighters and 5 losses where he was finished in 3 of them. He's never been a top 5 guy in the UFC. He's a serial cheater. He's a fake company man with a discount Dwayne The Rock Johnson persona. And worst of all, he wasted his window of opportunity chasing a fantasy fight that never happened. So yeah, the Chandler hype is finally over, thank God. The UFC pushed him hard, gave him the Golden Boy treatment, and what did they get in return? A walking highlight reel of fouls, losses, and meaningless monologues. He might still be a fun fighter, but let's stop pretending that the guy was ever elite. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know what you think about Chandler now that he's taken his 5th UFC loss. Can he bounce back, or was this all just smoke and mirrors from the beginning? As always, if you like the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
So, Dustin,
His finger ended up in your mouth, and he
he pulled.
Oh, dude,
his finger ended up in your eyeball.
Dude, I bit him so hard. Yeah, no. He cupped the top of my top teeth to pull my head up to get a choke in.
Come on, Dustin. I swear, like, you're not the only one. So this is what Justin Gaethje said to me.
Sure.
Gaethje said, because I want to know, because I heard Dustin's interview somewhere, and I was like, okay. Then I heard Paddy Pimblett say it. Then Justin Gaethje said it, and I was like,